Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Allie Brown. I am the owner of Agent List LLC. I am here today with Aaron Thomas. We're doing an interview with the agent I've chosen for the Fort Lewis, Washington location for the military base. I am a neutral, unbiased third party for who I send referrals to, and Aaron is one of the people that I found that is doing a really awesome job where he's at. And I wanted to interview him today and just kind of prove what I've already found about Aaron. So, Aaron, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, kind of already said where you're from, but
Yeah, so Aaron Thomas, right here in Joint Base Lewis McChord, actually sitting in an office that's right across the freeway from the military base. It's one of the advantages of working here is it is very, very close to the military base. So yeah, it's a great spot.
awesome. Um, in the past, have you worked with a lot of military clients?
Yeah, so I've been serving service members now since 2002. When I originally got my license, I actually came and put roots down right in this community. Ended up buying a house here. I worked for the local builder, so helped build out a really large portion of DuPont. So we helped get all these folks into the housing that they needed at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and just kind of kept doing that. So now I look down and it's been over 20 years, and
Right.
so during that time we've helped over 1,000 people total, and out of that, it's every year it's typically about 40 to 45% of the transactions and the people that we help are in the service.
Okay.
So all in all, if I knew the exact number, I'd tell you, but it's somewhere in that 450 range, probably, of different service members' families that have helped get into properties out here.
Okay. Do you have like any military background or understand like the military PCS process? Like how familiar with that are you?
So in doing all of those and helping all those families, I've come to learn everything. I don't have a prior military background, but I do understand all the language, and I do understand that what their needs are and what they experience, and how often, unfortunately, some of them have to move around.
Mhm.
And so, for those reasons, I've become very familiar with how the military and the VA, all the processes work.
Yeah, good. My husband and I are actually both, I was active duty up until last November, and my husband's still active duty. And I think we both are we agree that it doesn't necessarily matter if our agent is like, has some sort of affiliation with like being in the military. Some people are kind of picky about that, but I'm like, I just really want them to be good at their job so that I can be good at my job. So as long as you're a great like a real estate agent, then I don't have any preference for that. I know some people do, but
No, it's a very loyal crowd.
mhm.
I can say that, there's a comfort level in somebody who's prior service, in order for them to, help them purchase a home or sell a home. So I completely understand why,
Yeah.
and I see it every day.
Yeah. No, it builds rapport because it gives you that something to talk about, a lot of it's like such a big part of our lives. It's changed a lot of us. Um, so my next question is just talking numbers, and I don't believe numbers are everything, but I do believe numbers are something. So, do you know like the amount of listings or helping buyers through like the last 12 months that you've done?
So I do run a team, and so we have helped. Last year, we helped 160 families locally, either buy into the area or
Mhm.
sell their home and move out of the area. So each year it's generally in the 45 to 65 range for the amount of people that we help list their property. And then the remaining uh, 85 to 100 are going to be people that need to buy.
Mhm. Yeah. How many people are on your team?
Right now we have 14 agents,
Okay.
and they're all running around helping people in this area. So
Mhm.
that number fluctuates. We are growing our company.
Yep.
And so by the end of the year, we'll probably have 20, 25.
Okay. Awesome. How do you manage the amount of transactions that you do?
I mean, knowing that it's a team, it's very, distributed throughout all the agents on the team. So you have different levels of people producing, and helping a certain amount of families.
Yeah.
And I actually do a lot of the coaching, training, and leading of the agents, but I also still do sell houses as well.
Right. Um, how often do you feel like you communicate with your clients?
So my theory on client communication is to provide a lot of it in advance, and then to make the process as simple as possible for whoever's purchasing.
Sure.
So we talk about expectations and how the process goes in advance. But then as it's happening, I'm a big fan of telling people what we can expect next, right? What are the next couple of steps? Not
Mhm.
the whole thing,
Sure.
but the next couple of steps, so that we can stay focused on what the task at hand and what we need to accomplish right there and then. That being said, I kind of go at the pace and the method that the client prefers.
Mhm.
So if that person really likes to just text and then jump on a call when we have something really important to discuss,
Right.
then I'll meet them there. One of the biggest things I think that has helped us become different and be very crystal clear communicators is we will take a family, say husband and wife, and then
Mhm.
we'll put everybody on a group text so that we're all seeing the same explanations and getting the same information at the same time, as
Right.
opposed to I tell, the wife, and then the wife has to tell the husband, and she's trying
Sure.
to figure out how to explain what I explained. We also do a lot of video,
Okay.
and so you can get the tonality. And so we'll send a video explanation, and then we'll text it to that person, email it to that person.
Mhm.
It just depends on how tech savvy they are and how they'd like to be communicated with, and we just try to match up.
Right. Was that
Yeah,
an issue you had run into in the past with like miscommunications between spouses and stuff?
yeah. Many years ago, I picked up that it's much better to kind of. I mean, in a perfect world, you can get everybody in one meeting, right? You can all get on the same page.
Sure.
So how do you do that when people are in different places?
Yeah.
If somebody's at home and somebody's at work, for instance,
Yeah.
and we found that communicating in a group fashion is always the best way.
Yeah, I would agree. When I purchased my house, I was living in North Carolina and my husband was here in New York. And he was the one looking at houses with the agent, but then like just FaceTiming me real quick through the house. And I'd be like, was it nice? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, getting everybody on the same page is key. So I've helped families that where the husband is deployed and the wife is here working, or not
Sure.
working, but working on being a part of the purchase, right? So how
Mhm.
can we give him the information
Yeah.
so that at least when he has time, he can see what's going on?
Mhm.
Maybe at the end of the day, he can get caught up on everything we accomplished here, right, locally in their house search.
Right.
And I found that that really helps because we really want everybody to be involved.
Right. So earlier you had mentioned that you had been in that area for 20 years. Have you also been in real estate for 20 years or have you been in real estate longer than that?
So when I got licensed, I got rooted in this community very quickly. So I was licensed for 1 year, and then I started working down near the military base. So it's
Mhm.
been almost the entire career.
Okay.
Um, and then I grew up here locally, so I bounced around a little bit in terms of where I lived. Went to university and then came back, and but basically I've been here my whole life.
So sounds like you are a full-time agent, correct?
Oh yeah, it's unfortunately more than full time,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
7 days
don't
a
take
week.
I don't take too many trips. I do have a 7 and a 9-year-old, so I try to work really hard, and then mornings and evenings, I try to spend as much time as I can with them. But
Sure.
I do a pretty good job of juggling it all, and still get a little time here and there. It's funny because real estate never really shuts off.
Right.
So if I take my kids to the mountain next weekend, I will still be available, by phone and
Mhm.
by video and all those things. And that's the best way to do it, because completely detaching, when the arrows are flying and we have to make offers and we have to negotiate,
Sure.
Unfortunately, there just isn't the option to completely unplug. But
Hmm.
I knew that going into this, and so I've been doing it now consistently for years, and it's just a part of being able to deliver the service that I would expect to receive.
Right. Do you think that being a full-time agent and already having kind of like a stacked, agenda makes it harder to be available for your newer clients, or do you think I don't know, how it puts you in a good mindset?
No, I mean, we're able to balance it pretty well, knowing that we have the support of a full team of agents
Hmm.
is really helpful. And so what ends up happening is if we get a request for somebody that wants to see a house today or tomorrow or the next day, we can always fulfill that request. We never have to tell the client that we're unavailable,
Right.
which it's one of the reasons why I wanted to surround myself with great people, just in case that ever did happen, so that we can get somebody into a property and keep their search moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah. So in my case, I was not in town. And so my agent had to kind of anticipate my needs before I moved into town. How do you do that first of all, have you ever had a client who's been like a virtual client the whole time until they moved into their house, like bought it before seeing the house?
100%. Yeah, I've helped numerous people never fly into town and ever be here physically. I've actually helped people sell their property where they were stationed at JBLM, and then they moved out of the area, and they kept that property
Mhm.
as a rental, right? And then at some point they decided they'd like to sell that property. So I handled the whole thing. They never even come back into town. So I've met vendors. We had to get an alarm system installed on a property a couple of weeks ago. So I sat there for 4 hours while they were installing the alarm system for this seller that couldn't fly back into town. And so for buyers, we try to anticipate their needs and first figure out what their needs actually are by just simply jumping on a Zoom call, sharing our screen, getting up Google Maps, talking through all the different surrounding communities around JBLM, just so we can say, what type of lifestyle would you like to live when you come here, so that we can direct you to the right locations, so that we can really focus this search. And then we'll go out and film those locations and those homes for them, where it's very transparent. They can see everything, so they don't have to worry that maybe they're going to purchase a house and it's going to be next to a garbage dump or somewhere where they wouldn't want to live. We
Mhm.
try to be their eyes and their ears while they're here, but not just in the sense that we're going to pick the house for them, but we're going to give them the video transparency so that they feel like they were here to actually look at the property physically. So it has to be done very carefully. So we have to record the property in a certain manner. It's one of the reasons why we don't typically use FaceTime, because when you looked at that house, when you were searching, once you did the FaceTime and the FaceTime was over, you had no sense of going back through the property in any kind of way. So we tend to record the properties so that then both parties, if it's a married couple, can check out the house on their time and come back and ask the questions that they have about the property. If we need to go back out to the property and look at it again,
Mhm.
then we can do that as well. And that would be the time maybe we'd get on a FaceTime.
Sure. Um, if clients were moving into town and we were in like a seller's market and there wasn't very many houses on the market, how would you help that client when there wasn't a ton of options?
It's a good question. So when the inventory is low, the most important thing is that we're on top of every opportunity and we don't lose any chances if the perfect house come up. So that just takes getting on the same page, and it takes us a lot of the times looking for the house and setting up the alerts so that when a property is listed, we're talking about it right away,
Right.
because I never want that perfect house to come up and the client is looking on one of the big search engines, right? Zillow or Redfin or something, and they forgot to look on Friday and Saturday. They were busy leading their lives. I want to make sure that we at least, proactively sent them that information to say, look, I think this would be a good fit. Let me go video that property for you,
Right.
so that the inventory issue isn't so much of an issue. A lot of the times I'm helping somebody right now in this situation. They're PCSing here in July, and it's several months before July. And so what we're looking at is a controllable process where I'm going to help them build a house out here, because then we can control when it's finished and they don't have to get stressed out if they don't locate a property they'd like to purchase when we get that clock running, and then they're going to be here in 60 days and then 30 days. They feel like I don't have a place to live, right? So we don't want anybody to ever feel that way. So it's just making sure that we're checking off every box to get them in a home before they arrive.
Wow. Do you do that a lot? Do you help clients build houses?
Yeah, it's there's a handful of local builders out here, and they'll put the properties up, but they don't do it until about 3 weeks or 3 months prior to completion. But they will allow you to choose a lot, choose one of their home plans, and then have it build in a kind of a predictable way.
Okay.
And so then we help them manage that whole process so that they don't have to be here when the home is being built.
Hmm. Okay. That's awesome. Um, I did have one question. What was I? Oh, we were talking about the larger websites that I'll have access to the MLS and the housing market. Have you had any issues with clients like going to Zillow or Redfin or one of the other websites where they've found a house first and then they've come to you and then that house is no longer available?
I mean, it's going to happen where people go search online. We don't try to stop that or anything like that. We do connect them to our website, which is also connected to the MLS as well, so that they can actually get that information either before or right when it's available to Zillow or Redfin,
Sure.
just so they don't have to go onto those websites and proactively search themselves.
Mhm.
That being said, once somebody uses a website like Zillow for a number of months, they're kind of used to it. They kind of like it. And that's not a problem. They can continue to search on that website. It's just we want to make sure that they connect with us so that we can get them the information that is not provided by Zillow or Redfin, which would be the background information on that house. If there's any issues with that property, what are the pros and cons, right? Not everything is available to the public. And
Yes.
so we have to make sure that we step in and provide the remaining information so they can make a wise decision.
Yes. Um, I feel like my slogan for all of this will end up being like find an agent, not a house. Because I
Yeah.
feel like it's become kind of an issue sometimes when you go on sites like that and like especially through like the whole process of Zillow is that you find a house and then you type in your information and then they sell your information to an agent and then the agent's like, "Oh, that house has been gone for a long time. Sorry. Like, can I actually help you?" instead of
Yeah.
Zillow like pretending that they're helping you.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it is important that somebody, if I could control the industry, I would want somebody to know that not every realtor is the same. That I can get a license for real estate just by doing 90 hours of school, and that's it, which is kind of wild because if you want to be a barber or something like that, I heard it's like 10x that in hours, to cut somebody's hair versus help them purchase the biggest asset that they're ever going to purchase in their life. So there's this belief, I think, that just because somebody has a real estate license, that they all work the same, but it's completely false. Some of us work full time and have a track record and do this, professionally every day. And then there are others that are trying to do it, maybe just got their license and they're still in that learning phase
Yeah.
where if you got connected to that person, you're going to have a different experience for sure.
Mhm. Absolutely. Um, have you ever had to help a client navigate a bidding war?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So when we went through COVID, and then right after, it got really intense. And so we had to really get people on board with what it took to purchase a house in that type of market.
Hmm.
And everybody is scared, when there's a bidding war. And it doesn't always make sense to be the winner of a bidding war. It really has to line up with that person's goals. And so what we try to do is make sure with everybody that we're properly evaluating the price of that house for them to double check. So if they do end up getting in a bidding war, where should be the cutoff? Like at what point is this not going to make sense to go over the asking price? And by that, I mean, because you and I could go look at a house that is on the market for 550, but it doesn't, and you love it, but that doesn't mean it's worth 550. It might be worth 575 and it might be worth 525. And so it's my job to tell you which one it really is. And so that you can make a proper decision. Because if that 550 house is actually, worth 575,
Mhm.
then there's a little more room to still purchase it without losing out on your future equity.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if it's an overpriced listing and you love it, and now you're going to get into a bidding war on something that's already overpriced,
Right.
that might not be the best decision. So, and I would want you to know that, like you're about to over purchase and over invest on a property. But
Mhm.
again, it depends on your goals. Maybe you're going to live there for 15 years and then it won't matter because you are going to have equity. But maybe you're going to PCS it back out in 3 years. And now you'd be putting yourself in a situation where selling that property might be kind of difficult. You might not have the equity in it to actually get out from under it. Then you're stuck doing a rental or a short sale. Like I don't want anybody that I help to ever end up that way.
Yeah.
So we try to do the homework to make sure that that isn't ever an outcome that we see.
Right. And do you feel like you've had any clients who maybe don't have like extra money to be in like a financial bidding war, but you've had to find like clever ways to, make your offer a little bit more acceptable?
Yeah, so in order to help clients in a bidding war that have minimal assets, minimal cash to put in, and that sort of thing, because VA is all zero down.
Right.
Uh, it's our job to communicate with the listing agent and to see what the hot buttons are of the seller and just how we can navigate to where we can make our offer look better without just going sky high on price, because other things matter too. The time frame you can close matters.
Mhm.
Sometimes it matters that the person selling that property wants to live there for an extra month, and maybe our buyer has the time to let that happen because they're not going to be here for 60 days. So it's just making sure we're really working hard to match up the needs and being smart about it. We actually have a sheet. It's called an offer, make your offer better hacks list. And there's 30 different items on that. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of different ways we've figured out over the years to give our clients a better position than other agents negotiating on that same property.
Sure. Now we're gonna switch to a different subject. What is your availability for getting out to do showings or doing like virtual tours for people?
So availability for going out and doing showings is going to be the same day. So uh, Monday through basically 7 days a week. So we don't really have issues with availability getting out and helping people.
Yeah. Do you find that ever the listing agent like has an issue with that where it can't be the same day or just dependent on the situation?
Very rarely. I mean, usually if somebody lists their property, they've been properly coached that people are going to go want to go look at it and right away. So the only time we'd have an issue with that is if somebody listed a property on a Thursday and they said, and it's currently Thursday or Friday, and they specifically stated in the listing that they're going to hold the showings until Saturday. Sometimes that happens, and we can't break the rules of that listing. So that would pretty much be the only time that would occur.
Mm,
Is weren't permitted in the listing and nobody else was either.
yeah. Awesome. Um, do you think there's like a certain amount of properties that a client should look at before making a decision? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think people should look at more than one. that's that's the honest answer there, because anytime somebody only looks at one property and buys it, they always get that little thing in the back of their head. Should we have looking at, two, three more? I think the sweet spot is to get yourself into 5 to 10 properties, but if the first one comes along and you've only looked at two, three, or four, and you feel it in your gut that that's the right house, then that could be the right number for you.
right. Do you feel like now with our access to so many different things on the internet that people can do their own research like beforehand and kind of make a better decision? So do you think it's like helpful or do you think it is more of like a hindrance?
No, I think it's helpful when people look online, prior to getting connected to a realtor, just because you can get a sense for if you need 2,000 square feet, you need 4 bedrooms minimum, you
Mhm.
get a sense of what is actually out there. So I think shopping online is smart. I think it's just making sure that the consumer understands if they click any buttons and make any requests that there's going to be people calling them, right, and texting them and all those things. So they just need to make sure that they're about ready to go search for properties before they do any of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, people looking online is a good thing. And like I said earlier, I mean, people are going to continue to do what they're comfortable with. So if they're comfortable using a specific website, then that's fine, as long as that website provides the information they need and we can give them the information that's not included on that website that only realtors would have access to.
Right. Um, do you have any suggestions for clients who are trying to purchase a house sight unseen?
Yeah, if you're purchasing a house sight unseen, you definitely want to get very clear video of the entire house, the lot, everything that's around the lot, including the drive into wherever that property is located, because you may drive through a commercial area or something very unsightly that might bother you. So that would be my advice, is make sure that whoever is helping you actually gives you a very clear picture of everything that's around that property and everything that you're going to experience when you're actually here and living in there. And not everybody does that. A lot of the times that agent will go film the house and they're already inside the house when they start filming, and you have no idea what the neighbors look like, right? They might have 16 cars parked across the street and
Sure.
only one of them actually turns on, you know?
Right.
So being careful is key, knowing what you're buying into.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about it, I would have been like, could you just go to my work and then drive all the way home and film the whole thing? And
Yeah.
that way I know the whole drive.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, some of the most popular videos for real estate agents, if they are on YouTube, are actually they're in their car and they're driving around.
Right.
And people who aren't from the area want to see exactly what it's like,
Yeah.
you know, to even be on the highway in that area, which is
Sure.
I find kind of fascinating, but I understand because I'd probably want to watch that too if I was going to move out of the area.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like you can see all the things about the house on these websites that have access to the MLS. But they're like thinking about my house and the questions I was thinking about asking my husband, like, okay, well, how's the area? And like, I really just want to know, like, what was the distance to work? And so I'm like calculating, okay, that's not too bad. But now that I've been here, I'm like, well, now there's a lot more questions I should have asked about this area because there's nothing out here. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it took me I was in my car fumbling around the other day because I do these videos where my camera is facing outward, you know,
Hmm.
but I want to set it up to where it can film two of us in the car. So I was out there fumbling around trying to be able to record out and in at the same time. And there's actually an app that will let you do that. And it's specifically for this need, just so we can get better at it and we can actually create, you know, marketing around it and put it on YouTube and that sort of thing. So it's
Right.
kind of funny that we're having this conversation because it's literally what I was doing. And a couple of my teammates pulled their cars in and like, what are you doing? Because I was sitting here fumbling around trying to mount this thing to the back of the tablet screen on my car.
Right.
Anyway, I got it figured out, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, even just like knowing what traffic is like, like if you're or go around 5 o'clock and it's like, traffic is insane and we can't get home. It actually doesn't take 18 minutes. It takes like 37 minutes because,
Mhm.
traffic. Like that
Yeah.
would be nice to know.
No, for sure. And I mean, I've coached everybody that I teach and myself feel this way. It's you know, we want to treat everybody like they were a member of our family. And so if somebody's about to buy a house sight unseen and there's something about it that I wouldn't want my family to, I wouldn't want them to purchase that house, we're going to be really honest with them. And sometimes it is the drive time and the traffic. We get people that want to come to JBLM all the time
Yeah.
and they want to purchase in an outskirt area because on the map it looks like it's close, but they're not aware of what their drive is going to be like. And
Mhm.
so it's where are you going to be when you go to work, if you're going to work on post, what part of post? Because post, I mean, the whole base is pretty dang big, right? So we want to make sure we match them up with clear expectations of where they're actually going to land when they try to drive to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like here at Fort Drum, there are gates that you can see it's a gate, but it's been closed since it was built. So it's
Yeah,
never been opened. And so if you think you can get in through this way, faster, you can't. You actually have to go all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So, what do you think sets you apart from other realtors?
I think it sounds cliche, but we actually do really care about people and their experience. So we never want to move anybody in that was unhappy with their house or the process.
Hmm.
And so it is anticipating their needs. It is communicating a lot.
Hmm.
It is making sure that we treat them like family. And I can tell you, I know a lot of realtors, and not everybody has this mindset, right? They want to chase the sale, they want to get a paycheck. And so they're kind of forcing people into properties really quickly when they should be taking a step back and saying, how can I make sure that that person picks the house that they would have picked as fast as possible? Like, how can I narrow down the options for them so that what they're looking at are really matches for the property that they've described would be their perfect house to live in here, including the location, including the drive time, including the features in the house, including the size of the backyard, all of those things. I think that does set us apart, and it's reflective in the reviews for our company.
Yep.
We have almost 500 reviews, digital reviews online,
Yep.
and a few that are 4 stars instead of 5, but I don't think we have any that are 3, 2, or 1. Like for the most part, everybody's happy, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually love what you said that you care that people enjoy the experience because I think a lot of times people don't realize that the experience almost plays more of a role than the house. So
Yeah,
sometimes it's like the house is just the cherry on top. And so, but the whole experience, because it should almost, to me, I think it should be like being a bride at your wedding and you are the wedding planner. And so you've done everything to make sure that they like get to just enjoy their wedding and that
yeah,
the experience was fun. And now they get to live in this thing forever, just like a bride gets to enjoy the wedding and then be married forever. So
yeah.
I I believe that the experience matters probably more than the house because the house may come and go, especially for a military client.
No, you're spot on with that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and so last question, most importantly, if you could be a superhero, who would you be and why?
Oh my gosh. Um, the weirdest question. I like to get a lot done, so I think it would have to be the Flash because
Mm,
it doesn't take him any time to get anywhere. So he can get to where he needs to go and just make the most of the day. So that's what I'm going with.
oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I hate traveling. I hate being in the car. So I'm like, if I could just like be there, that would be,
I know who hasn't thought of, being stuck in traffic and saying, I wish I had a helicopter right now so I could just keep going, right, and get to my spot.
yeah, yeah. Well, those are all of my questions that I have for you. And thank you so much, Aaron, for spending this time with me today and doing this interview. I think it's going to be really helpful for any potential buyers, sellers in your area, and also agents who are looking to send referrals. Like they know that you are training every single person on your team. And even though you do have a very big team, like through agent list, we'll always know if they're working specifically with you or if you're passing it off and why you're passing it off. And so we'll be able to track who it's going to, and it's not just going to end up with just some lower tiered person. Like I think you care and you make sure that everybody's taken care of, and these people are all a reflection of you. And so that's really what we're looking for, is making sure that like you are managing your team and making sure that they know that they're a reflection of the Aaron Thomas team, and that if they do end up receiving some sort of a referral, that they were operating at a really high standard in the first place.
Oh
So,
yeah, they will take care of anyone that ends up down here.
yes. Okay. Well, I hope you have a good weekend, and I thank you again for coming to the Zoom call. All
All right, sounds good.
right.
Take care. All right.
Yeah.